Hello and good evening, everyone. How are you? And welcome to the showcase. Yes, I am your host, Yemisi Lagunju, and we are here again in the month of February for the showcase. Yes, I'm sure you're wondering what's going on, Yemisi. This is a different environment. Don't worry, it's a long story, but we are going to go. The show must go on. And here we are today. So if you're already connected, please put something in the comment box. Let me know who are the people I have online with us here today. Yes, 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 yes. Our guest speaker for today is right here. Chidinma is right at the backstage waiting to share her wonderful story with us. So please go ahead and just put something in the comment box. Let me know who the people are that are online at the moment. I am super, super, super duper excited to be here today. Nothing, absolutely nothing is going to stop this show from going on today. And I'm super happy to be here again. So please, if you are here, please just go ahead, put something in the comment box. Let me know the people that I'm chatting with, the people that we have online at the moment. And while we're doing that, we're just going to wait a few minutes and allow other people to be able to come in. So let's just wait a few more, 2 minutes, and we will be back on air. Yes, 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 we are back and we are live once again. So sorry for that. That was, in fact, I don't know. I'm not even quite sure I want to go into that. It's a lot of stuff going on, but thank God we are live and we are here today. Awesome. I can see Oluwaseun Olajube. Thank you. Thank you so much for being on. It's awesome to have you guys on today. So, like I said you are welcome once again to this episode of the showcase, and it's another episode this month of February. Yes, 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 yes. And I'm super duper excited because we have our very first speaker for the year. And there's just something so awesome about her. She's one particular thing that I love so much about her is how young she is, but yet how focused and how directed she is. Knowing she knows what she wants, she knows her onions, sincerely knows her onions. So awesome have her. She's already at the backstage, ready to be here to share her story with us. So, just for those that have never been on the showcase, I may be wondering what's the showcase all about. The showcase is simply that platform that where we put the spotlight on people that have discovered their life purpose and they share their stories. Now, for me, sincerely, I believe that when people share their stories, we're able to learn from them. We're able to get one or two, ideas. We're able to, get enough light that can be shed on our path, maybe just to even help us a bit, not just in the right direction, and that's what I really believe the whole essence of the showcase is about, finding your purpose and walking in it. And beyond just that, it's also about being able to live life successfully. I will always say something: success is relative. And why do I say so? Because what I count as success may not necessarily be your success. We all have different stories, we all have different places we're coming from, and what is my dream may not necessarily be your dream. Your dream may just be the beginning point for mine, or may even be the end point for you. So whatever it is, that is what we discuss here on the showcase. Making that difference, getting to that point where we are able to, truly live life purposeful by design. Okay, so I've been talking for a few minutes already, and yes, 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 I'm happy to have us here today. The show must go on. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to, before I bring our guest speaker on this evening, I'm just going to take a few minutes to, kind of read about who she is and why she is here today. You know, well, I think I should just stop yapping and go straight into that right now. So we'll be having her come on in the next few minutes. But before that, let's watch her introduction. Chidinma is an advocate dedicated to championing good health, social justice, and improved well being for young people. Her life's mission is to empower children and youth to lead healthy and purposeful lives, free from social constraints. She founded Mild Heart Care Foundation, where she equips young people with quality information on their sexual and reproductive health through school and community outreaches. Sexually and also sexuality podcasts, media campaigns. Chidinma has been privileged to volunteer with organizations such as Men Engage Nigeria, the Wellbeing Foundation Africa, Global Fund for Children, and the latest of her achievements, UNESCO, towards this mission. So, with a round of applause, a lot of excitement I have in the house today, I'm going to bring onto the stage our guest speaker for today, Chidinma. Yay! Hello, Chidinma. How are you doing? It's
Yeah,
nice to have you here this evening.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for honoring and accepting our invitation to share your story with us right here on the showcase. Okay, so we have been talking about, showcase being that place where we talk about life purpose and discovering your life purpose and finding expressions for your life purpose. So this is not new to you. Chidinma has one of those people that has been following our programs for a while, and so it's not new to her. But it's awesome to have you here this
Thank you.
evening. Yes, yes, yes. We have a warm welcome. Thank you, thank you. Welcome, our darling Chidinma. You see, everybody's looking forward to hearing your story. Like I always say, one thing that I just love so much about you is the fact that as young as you are, you have a focus, you are directed, you know where you are going, you know what you want. Okay, so it's nice to have you here this evening. So let's go straight into what we have today. Like my usual question is, Chidima, can you just kind of, in a few words, kind of tell us what is your life purpose? What would you describe as your purpose in life? What is your zing, your zang? What is that thing that moves you? Can you just share with us in a few words?
Okay. So in a sentence, I'll just say my life's purpose is to care for young minds. And if I'm going to expound on it, I'll say caring for young minds in the sense of empowering them, helping them to discover themselves beyond social constraints, because we have a lot of social constraints in this part of the world. And it's just out of that care, I'm trying to help them discover what they can become, um, beyond those barriers that look very invincible but are there.
Hmm. And sincerely, there are a lot of barriers, even not just even just to young people, but even to people generally, being able to find that place where you are supposed to be and all that. And having a lot of young people today that really don't even know what they want for their life. Having somebody like you kind of shed a little more light, kind of prod them in the right direction is an awesome thing. So it's a great work. Thank you for that. So I'm going to
Thank
ask you
you.
this question, Chidima. Now you've told us what is it, what's that thing that keeps you propelled, keeps you moving. Now can I ask you, how did you get there? Because I personally believe that there's something that you must have encountered, experience that kind of began to put you on this path. And so I just want to hear from you. How did you get to where you are today? Tell us. Go back to wherever, just tell us your story. All right.
It's a long story. Oh my god. It's such a long story. And I think as I'm sharing my
We have
story, I'll be
time, oh,
sharing
so please go
lessons.
ahead. We have time, so go
Okay.
ahead. That's why I'm here.
Yes. As I'm sharing my story, I'll be sharing lessons I learned because that also helped me discover myself. Um Self-discovery, like the first lesson I want to mention is that self-discovery is not like a one-off thing that happens. Maybe you have a dream and then you just discover that this is what I want to do. There are different factors that will play out at different points in your life that will help you define who you are and who you want to become. So for me, it started self discovery really started early. I was in secondary school. The only thing I discovered was I love to speak. I used to be in the debate team for my school. I was very expressive. That was one thing I had. And I'll tell people I love to talk. That is my gift and I'm going to use it. My voice is my gift and I'm going to use it. So that was like first stage. I never knew what I was going to use the voice for, but I knew that I had a voice and I was going to use it. So, like I said before, it's not one of you don't just say this is it, this is it. When I got into the university, I would always present for my class. I would always be out there, but I still didn't figure out what I wanted to do because when I came out of university, I was going to go into a conventional career of a scientist because I studied human anatomy in school. So I still did not have a very good sense of direction, right? Until I started working in a lab and I got introduced um, to Men Engage Nigeria. Men Engage Nigeria is a coalition of NGOs and they had a youth network. When I got introduced to that volunteering experience, I started to learn about gender equality. I started to learn about reproductive health. And I was so interested. Like, I had never been interested in anything else. And I had to write it down that this is super interesting and I would want to delve into issues of sexual and reproductive health. And the moment I made that decision, because I was so interested, and at that point of interest, I wasn't still sure what was making me so interested. So I was just going for outreaches, we would have meetings, we would have webinars where they would teach us about these issues. They'll teach us about gender equality, they'll teach us about SRHR issues, sexual and reproductive health and rights issues. And it just took me back. At that point, when I started volunteering for that coalition, it took me back to my childhood. Number two lesson, your childhood somehow has a level of influence on the kind of adult you become. Your childhood, your experiences, training, your environment, it also affects. So it took me back to childhood, and there I discovered why I was so interested in issues of sexual and reproductive health. So as a child, between the ages of 8 and 9, I realized that I had been molested several times by family members, and it wasn't peculiar to me. It's like teenage, we had like a big house, big family. We had about three teenagers and then three children in the house. And then they want to explore their, as teenagers, maybe because we don't have that enlightenment, they want to explore on children, take advantage of children. And I was being taken advantage of, try different things on me, you know, try to touch me in places that were not comfortable for me, and I couldn't do anything. I wasn't vocal about it at that point because parents never told me anything about my body. They did not tell me about bodily autonomy, speaking up. If somebody is touching you in this particular place, you have to speak up. If you are not comfortable, you have to tell somebody. I wasn't vocal about it. I was just not comfortable. I couldn't do anything about that incident, and it kept on going for years. Like in the house, children will be playing, and then they are there fondling me in different parts of my body, and I just moved on. When I got into boarding school, I wasn't having access to them, to the older children, and I just moved on like nothing happened to me. I Nobody told me that I was wrong. It was an issue. Children were not meant to be molested. I just went to boarding school and I just continued my life. And like I said, in boarding school, I discovered that I was more of an expressive person. So I would always talk and talk and talk. But I discovered that I did not like boys. When I was in secondary school, I was that kind of girl that was very defensive. I did not like boys. I did not have those kind of relationships where you see girls and boys talking, and no. I was always defensive for myself and for other girls. I would boys. I just did not like boys. And at that point, I did not understand that I was dealing with trauma as a teenager. So I went to boarding school. I was very different. They were looking at me like, who is this girl? She does not relate with boys as much as other girls. I was just different. But I was there dealing with trauma and I did not know that I was dealing with trauma. I graduated from secondary school. I passed all my exams and I went to the university. My parents wanted me to study medicine, but maybe that was not for me. I studied human anatomy and I was very interested in reproductive health, reproduction. So that was one of our courses. In human anatomy, you get to study gross anatomy, you study histology, you study endocrinology and reproduction. And I passed my reproduction very well. And there was one thing that happened to me in school. When I was reading reproduction, I discovered a lot about myself. So these were things that I wasn't taught at home. Nobody told me about what hymen is, what vulva is, what uterus is, nothing. Even when it comes to puberty, periods, I never learned any of these things at home. So this is another lesson. If I had learned these things, it would have been easy for me to uncover everything I was dealing with. But no, I didn't. So I had to begin to uncover it by myself. So my course also helped me because in reproduction, I was able to understand that, oh, girls have a hymen. This is what happens. This is the difference. This is this place. This is that place. So I had to even start checking myself. I had never checked my reproductive system, like the external part before. I had to learn about it. I had to learn all the parts. I felt a lot of hurt and pain when I was being molested, but I didn't know how it was affecting me. And then I understood how the brain and the body works together. So if you are going through trauma or pain and everything, it starts from the mind. So my mind is telling my body that if anybody tries to touch me, they want to take advantage of me. If anybody wants to be my friend, it's because they want to have sex with me. Those were the ideology that I had began to cultivate, and that was why I had like terrible relationships with boys. So it was difficult. I got to the university. It continued. One would think that you have had some experience with such things and then you'll be more careful. But no, when I got into the university, I was sexually harassed by a fellowship member. So there are different things that happen to young people, right? And the problem for me was these experiences happens with a lot of people, girls and boys, especially in school environments. But if you as a parent don't educate the child early on to say, if these things happen, you can speak up, you have such relationship with your children, they will just keep it to themselves and even feel like it's normal. So in school, there are different forms of sexual. There's you can be molested, you can be sexually assaulted, you can be harassed. When people are talking to you about your body, people are touching you anyhow, you're passing the road and boys are all gathered and they're sizing you up and doing all those things. I experienced it, but I felt like okay, that's the way life is here. And that was how it was. So all of these things that happened back then, I did not realize how I was just trivializing it, but it was affecting me somehow. And then I was like, in school, I'm not going to get to any sort of relationship. I was just going to face my book and graduate and do all that. And that was how it went on. Like my mind, I couldn't handle relationships. Like I could not have, if as a boy you want to be my friend, good and fine, you can be my friend. But once you just mention I'm having feelings or emotional attachment, I run away. And if you can't keep up, I just I just let you go. And another thing that happened with me was when it comes to girls, you can offend me, I can let you go scot free. But if you're a guy and you offend me, I don't give you second chances. I don't just like you because you're a guy. I can't give you a second chance. So it was hard. Relating with them was hard. I was like a tough, whatever. So after school, I had to go through all these things. And I still had there were different points where I had one form of assault or the other. I remember also when I was a child, when I would go to my cousin's house, I'll be sleeping on the bed and guys will come and they want to take off my pants and I don't know. It was just crazy. And to be honest, I thought it was just me at that point. But now I realize that there are a lot of children who are going through one form of assault or the other. And simply because they can't speak up, we feel like it's either we're living in denial or we feel like it's not really existent. You won't always be with your child, they'll be in school. Something can happen. If you don't tell them to talk, they won't tell you anything. And you feel like they're okay. That was what happened with me. I couldn't tell anybody anything. I just kept everything inside because I was even feeling embarrassed. This ideology that they'll say is my fault. What was I doing? Those kind of mindsets hindered me a lot. So after university, I had to go through all this trauma for those years. And after university, I started working, and that was when I got into this volunteer opportunity where I now discovered every single experience that I had. And it made meaning to me at that point. That was when I was able to really critically analyze everything and realize that, oh, this is why I'm very interested in sexual and reproductive health because I see that through, I have seen the back end of lack of knowledge about my sexual and reproductive health. First of all, they didn't teach us in school. All through my secondary school, they were just teaching us abstract knowledge. We did not have anything on sexual and reproductive health or CSC. At home, nothing. Friends, nothing. Everybody just talking about feelings and emotion and infatuation. So at that point, as I was volunteering, I discovered a lot of things and I was very curious. I began to learn. I began to learn and learn and learn. And I was like, no. Looking at the statistics, a lot of children, a lot of adolescents are still going through gender based violence. They are still being sexually assaulted. They are still being harassed every single day. Every single day up until this moment. Children, adolescents, young people are still being sexually assaulted. And I'm like, I can't do anything else, to be honest. This is what I want to do. And at that point, I was like, how can I really do something about this? And I know that it's not something that one person can do. I'm like, let me just keep volunteering and see where it leads. And at some point, I was led to also begin to share my personal experience because I know it will be empowering for other people. Because I know that this thing, it has not just happened with me, it has happened to so many people. When I talk about it, the person I'm talking to is like, it has happened to me too. Even married women have had their fair share of sexual assault at one point in their life or the other. It is not far fetched. I can say that the percentage of women and girls who have had one form of issue, social constraint when it comes to their sexuality is quite a lot. But people don't know or people will not believe because they feel like they have not been raped until you see a case of rape before you know that you have to do something or something has to be done. A lot more has happened. People don't understand what harassment is. And I know everybody at one point or the other have been harassed, but they don't know that it's wrong and it's not meant to happen. And that's happened with them before. But because of ignorance, we don't know that these things are wrong. So we don't want to do much about it until maybe somebody is raped. And then people are questioning that what happened, what did you wear, what did you do, where did you go? Those stories actually baffle me every time I hear it. But that's just my story. I decided to begin to share my personal experiences and volunteer to ensure that I'm part of the system, trying to help other people, trying to ensure that all the people involved, from family to school to government, everybody has a role to play, and we are all taking it one step at a time.
Wow, 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 wow. Chidinma, that is a lot. In fact, to be honest, I'm even hearing some parts of this story like for the first time. So thank you so much for being vulnerable enough to share your story. Because I like what you said. A lot of times women, the females, whether as a girl child or as an adult, we've experienced one form of sexual harassment or the other before. I know that I have been, in uni, your lecturers are, trying to come and have sex with me for your leg, for your marks and stuff, all sorts of those issues. And the reality is that we all have had our own fair share of it, to be very honest. But how well we're able to manage it is because it's either you were empowered with knowledge enough and you knew, oh, this is what is going on and I need to, this is how to handle it. And in a situation where you did not know what to do, like you experienced, you initially you didn't even know that it was even an issue. I remember when I even had the opportunity to I was in uni then. I was doing my industrial attachments. I worked with the bank. And I remember one of HR officer, like one of the organs in HR. And every time I have to go and do something in his office, he will be holding my hand, caressing my hand. I'm like, what's this man's problem? I'll just, run back, move and all that. But maybe because I had I was privileged to kind of have had a little more knowledge. I kind of knew how to handle it. So sincerely, I applaud you for this, because the truth is there are a lot of ladies, young and old, that are going through one form of, sexual harassment, or, assault and all that. Some are vocal about it, and some really don't even know what to do. And so they kind of, take it in and just, try to handle it. So thank you so much for being, so open about that, and it's amazing. I remember how I used to hear somebody say something, that how God has a way of, taking our mess and turning it into a message. What you have experienced that has become something that was a traumatic experience, you have turned it around to become an empowering thing, to say, look, that I went through it does not mean that others have to go through it. And sincerely, I applaud you for that. It's one area that I know that, especially maybe here in Africa, and especially maybe even in our culture in Nigeria, we are still kind of silent about it. We are not as vocal as we should be on this issue. And sincerely, I appreciate how much you're advocating this move and saying, look, our girls need to be empowered. They need to be informed. They need to understand what the boundaries are. Unfortunately, a lot of parents, maybe because out of let's say ignorance, or out of, oh, I don't know how to bring this discussion up with my girl child or my children, because both girl child and even the boy child need to be educated, and so they rather not say anything about it. And their child goes through that experience, not knowing what to do, not knowing who to turn to, and so they just kind of leave it. They live through that situation. So thank you so much, like I said, for being vulnerable enough to share that story. And it's amazing to see what you are doing with it now, being able to use that to be able to empower other people. So I was just taking note of a few things while you were speaking, and I just kind of want to, kind of like, let's talk on that. You know, I know the first thing that you mentioned is that you discovered what your your gift was, and you discovered that your gift was your voice. You knew you always liked to speak, even though you didn't know what you wanted to speak
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
And joining the debate team and all that. And it's awesome. A lot of times we, as adults, we kind of what's the word, overlook some of those little things, those things that we, from even childhood, that we have been doing, that we have been exposed to, and we just take it as it's no big deal. But it's good to see that you have been able to recognize the fact that, oh, I had this gift even as a child, and so you began to develop that, and find the opportunities to be able to do the things, to do just what you are doing now. Now, you mentioned something very important. You said you volunteered. Um, your first volunteering experience was with Men Engage. Okay. So I'm going to ask you something. Do you think that it was really very, that experience that you had, do you think it was really, really very relevant? Because most people would have said, oh, probably your classmates that had finished school probably were just looking for jobs. Everybody's looking for a job, I want to move on and all that. But here you are volunteering your time, and maybe at the end of the day you're not even getting enough pay, if at all you're even getting any pay at all. So can you share a little about that journey experience? And do you think it was really relevant? Do you think it was something that you say, oh, I will advise people, young people, volunteer your time, volunteer to other things, or to a cause, or even um, to somebody above you that has been maybe a mentor or something, volunteering your time to do one or two things? What would you say about volunteering?
Okay, thank you. I really like the question a lot. because even in this space, right, there are a lot of people who are volunteering, but they're having a wrong mindset. And that's where the problem is. Anything you are doing, if you are doing it with the wrong mindset, you won't get the best of it. Or what will I say? Yes. So I understood that this is what I want to do. I want to help people. I want to help young minds. I want to help those people that are supposed to be in that position to influence them. I want them to know that see your people, oh, this is what you are meant to do. So it's not just about children, it's about all the stakeholders involved, families, parents, young people who will be parents someday, government, the education system, everything. That was the mindset I had. So I wasn't even thinking about what I was going to benefit. I was thinking about other people. And that's the issue that we are facing in this our generation, or will I say, or this part of the world. As a volunteer, you don't get paid. If you're going to get paid, you're going to get maybe allowances for upkeep or something like that. And that's the reason why many people run away from volunteering because they're first thinking of themselves. They're like, what can I get? What can I get? And at the end of the day, to be honest, the best thing that you can do for yourself is find a cause and pursue that cause because that's the only way you can live and be satisfied with your life. That's the only way you can have like a fulfilled life because at the end of the day, when you have all the money, you have a good paying job, people are still empty. They still feel empty. Like, I'm not doing anything, I'm not benefiting humanity, I'm living for myself. And that's the last thing I want to do. So, at the back of my head, as I'm volunteering, my fulfillment is in the fact that I'm seeing that people's lives are changed. I'm seeing that people are better. I'm leaving people better. I'm impacting lives. And it gives me great joy to see that. And another thing about this is that people are looking for like short term benefits. Personally, the mindset I had was volunteer, share your story, find opportunities to volunteer and share your story. And in doing that, I was exposed to more opportunities. You know, you won't be exposed to opportunities to really make an impact if you don't want to make an impact. The opportunities kept coming because I was doing what many people were not doing. How can you share your personal experience? How can you tell the whole world this is what happened to you? How can you be that vulnerable to say, I don't want this thing to happen to somebody and I want to give my all to dedicate my life to making sure that that doesn't happen? There'll be opportunities, whatever you're looking for, the money and everything, it will eventually come, but it will not come as a result of you chasing them. It will come as a result of you chasing a bigger purpose. And so many
Wow.
young people chase that bigger purpose. They are chasing the grand and the little things, and they are getting the little benefits from that. So me, I know personally that this is like just the starting point for me. The more I'm focused on the bigger picture, all those other things will follow. But if I'm focusing on those little things, the bigger picture, the impact I want to create in the world, that vision that I have for the young people, I think is it's just priority. What are we prioritizing? So my volunteering experience have been very relevant and I don't take it for granted. That volunteering experience I had with Men Engage, it was like the opening door for me to have other opportunities to actually share my story and make an impact basically.
Wow. In fact, like what you just said, it's one thing that I tell a lot of young people: be willing to serve. Be willing to serve. There's so much power in service. And in the place of service, you actually get to discover yourself. You actually get to, it pushes you, beyond yourself. And because you are serving not yourself for your personal gain, you are there for others. You are putting others even before your own need. You find out that, somehow, the blessings will come. The blessings will come. And, I love just the way you put it, when you were there to serve, when you were there to volunteer, other opportunities came up. Other opportunities came up. Now I'm going to
Mm.
ask you something, um, being your story, because it's something that is, it's will I say, maybe like in Africa, is something that a lot of people just kind of try. No, don't say it outside, though. Don't let people hear what has gone on. I want to ask your immediate family, your parents, because I know this issue is a lot of we have this issue because a lot of parents are not speaking up where they should speak up. They are quiet. They hide it. They don't want other people to know what my child has gone through, or this my brother or the person that I put in the house is assaulting my child. So they want to cover it up. There's that stigma thing, Let me ask: when you started vocalizing, speaking up concerning this, how was the reaction of your parents? Were they okay with it? Number one, did your parents even know what was going on? Did
Oh
you
my
tell
god.
them when that happened? And how were they in support, or they've struggled with it, Because the real question that a lot of parents
Yeah.
are also facing here.
And there's a lesson too.
Hmm.
So I should be the angry one, right? I should be the angry
Because
one. I should be the angry one, and they should be apologizing to me, you know.
hmm,
But then I only spoke up when I was older, to be honest. And the reason why I spoke up was because at that point I was ready to share my story. I was just like, let me just tell these guys so that they know at least it's not be as if they'll be hearing it from outside, like hearing it from
hmm,
anywhere else. But up until that point, I just felt like there was no point telling them because I felt like maybe they will not understand or they want to live in denial or they'll feel so sorry that it might hurt them a lot. Well, I just said it like casually, like I've moved on. In fact, I have healed. I have no regrets. I feel like that was meant to happen to me. I don't want it to happen to other young people, but I feel personally so strongly, even when I was sharing my story, that if it had not happened to me, it would have, like, everything that happened in my life was meant to happen. Because there are many people like me that this has happened to and they turned out differently. But for me to turn out the way I did, in the sense that I did not become an addict, I did not give up, it was just pushing me and propelling me in a good way to empower other people. I knew that that was part of my story and part of my experience. So telling them was just no and no peace, but it's not that deep. I've moved on. Like it was just in my past. And I realized that especially my mom, she was like, we have to be more careful as parents. And that's the lesson. As parents, you have to be very observant of your children. You have to be your children's best friend. That they're able to tell you any and everything that way. And that's why I always advocate to young people that we can actually do better. We can be better parents and ensure that our children are our best friends and they can talk to us about anything and they can actually listen to us. Because if I had that kind of relationship as a child, I would have been able to speak up. Imagine me not speaking up because I was embarrassed. I felt like, why will I say this thing? What if they don't ask? I don't know how to put the English. What if they tell me I'm lying? What if my brother, all those people, they don't they expose and say something different? I was just having different. So that's just the lesson for me. It wasn't. It just happened, and I told them, and it died. But yeah,
Wow. Because this question, this topic of sexual health and reproductive health and everything is a really very important thing because, when we look at the world that we live in now, just like one of our viewers said something about today, the age that we're in, the age of technology, social media, and all that. We live in a very sexualized um, generation.
yeah.
So how do we, you know prevent this from happening? you know yes, the parents have their place. I don't know what how would you advocate, how would you say this can be stopped, or at least let us reduce it? Or what's that advice that you would have? Because I know that is what you are championing, that's what you are, voicing out right now. So what would you really say to us as parents, as young people? What do we do? Because whether we like it or not, I mean, just a simple advert of a bottle of Coca-Cola has to be sexualized. They are selling an advert of body cream. The lady has to, like, almost naked to advertise it. We live in a very sexualized generation. And the honest truth is, as well, values are being depleted. People are doing all sorts of things. So do you feel that your speaking up is really making a difference? Because it seems like when you look all around you, it's like it's getting darker and darker and worse and worse. So how do we really fight this war against, all the sexual vices, and especially against, sexual vices to young children, to young people? What do we do?
Okay, so thank you for the question. The issue of what to do, this is like the call to action. And I want to say that when it comes to this advocacy work and everything, the focus, if we're going to change the systems, if we're going to change the current systems that we have, even when it comes to technology, when it comes to social vices, when it comes to the sexualized world, we cannot focus on the older generation. We can't focus on those of us who have already grown up with certain ideologies. We're supposed to focus on the children. And that's why my advocacy is on children, young people, yes, but especially children, adolescents, because they are the only ones that can change the world. They are the only ones that can create a new world with what they want to be in it. So the advocacy is early childhood education, because children, the challenge we have is plenty. Oh. Children that we are meant to educate at certain stages, which is like their formative years. We are not educating them. We're educating the older ones who have already formed certain ideologies that is hard to change. And that's why it's not working. For instance, I'm always saying, as a child, you are not yet an adolescent. They're supposed to tell you that um puberty is coming. Oh, this is how it's meant to be. This is what you'll experience. You have urges. Your period is coming. This is what you won't train them before it happens. It is after it has happened that we start training adolescents. For adults too, when they are adults, that's when you start telling them about career paths, find yourself. I'm like, it's too late. It's too late. It's too late. Even even people that are married, you start talking about marriage when they want to get married. I'm like, why? Like it's just too late. In my head, at the back of my head, I'm thinking the formative years where children are able to gather as much information as you can, unfiltered information, is between three, in fact from 1 to 7. Now they are saying age based. I'm telling you for free, this whole idea of age based is just a fallacy to me. This is when you're supposed to pour in all the values, all the ideologies that you want this generation to have at that stage. When they have it, they now start to sieve knowledge, they start to filter it. What they have gathered, the first knowledge that they have gathered at that formative years, it's hard to take it away from them. When they are now adolescents, they will now start weighing it. This is what I was taught, especially from home. They start weighing it with the knowledge they're getting from outside or from elsewhere. It's super easy, if you pour those values in them and give them evidence, like tell them that this is it, this is what has happened, this is it. That is the only way. When it comes to technology or sexualized world, if they learn about it as early on as possible, about their sexuality and how these things are wrong, how it's not going to benefit them, give them the values you want them to have, even when it comes to their sexuality, they will come back to you and tell you that, but this is not what I know. When they are getting into puberty stage, they already have knowledge about puberty and like, okay, this is what is going to happen in puberty. I'll start having different feelings in my body. It's not that when they're having different feelings in their body. I'm always saying, if you want to stop teenage pregnancy, you have to educate them about their cycle. You will not say age based. You want to give them age based knowledge. You don't tell them about their cycle and about their ovulation. That is during ovulation you feel the horniest, and then people just take advantage of that situation. They don't even know that they are ovulating, and they go and sleep around, and once they get pregnant, and it is unintended. If their parents had told them that during puberty this is what will happen, no, you calculate your cycle, you know, okay, this is what happened, this is what, be very disciplined, talk about the importance of discipline, talk about those values you want to imbibe. I'm telling you, nothing that is happening now is too extraordinary that cannot be changed. It's just now focusing on the new generation that is coming up, because the old generation is, I think it's already too late to start changing mindsets. But if you want
In
to
fact,
change the mindset, you have to now focus on the new generation that is coming, and that is my fight. We are fighting for um CSC to be in the education curriculum. We are trying to advocate for it for adolescents, for children, that they should learn about their sexuality in schools, families. The meeting that we had parents, we had teachers, we had different stakeholders coming to share ideas on how to advocate for this issue. So
wow.
everybody is involved, even from home. Start teaching them from 1 year old bodily autonomy. They don't touch you anyhow. You report. If parents can
Wow.
be bold enough, there's no, it's not that the way they just make sexuality look like one, I don't know. You are a sexual being because you have all the body. The way you talk about your food, your eating habits, talk about everything. It's all part of you. That's what makes you a human being.
I think I would want to say something. It's really a mindset issue. You know, I remember growing up, when people are talking about your sexual organ, your penis, your vagina, there were always, names that they were giving. You don't say it as it is. And I remember even when I first had like my children, when my son was still a toddler, you know, instead of okay, or calling it as it is, also it's a PP, it's a VV, but until I was educated and said, no, you should let these children know what it is. Don't give it a special name because it's just a part of the body. We are the ones that, put a lot of, quote and unquote drama around it. It is a part of the body, and I broke from that and said, no, this is your vagina. Is your, and even as little as, my daughter is, she will tell you clearly. She said, this is my vagina, this is my bum bum, this, that. She knows. And so she knows, she's been educated that nobody has the right to touch it. Even mommy doesn't have the right to touch it. So if you're happy in your bath, you wash it by yourself, and stuff like that. So really I agree with you a lot on what you have said, because there's something one of my coach says. She says there's something that's called the law of first mention. If we're able to educate these young people about these things early enough and speak up for what it is and how to, for them to be able to navigate through life, we will empower them before they get to that point. But like Chidinma just said, a lot of times they have already set out on the journey. They were telling them, pack your bag. Oh, this is how to pack your bag for the journey. They've already set out on the journey already. So the timing that we are doing it is we need to work on it, But like there's something I would want to ask as well, Now, recently there's been a video that's been kind of going around, becoming viral. A video by it was posted on Elon Musk on his X account, and was talking about the war against children. And really, it had a lot to do with the effect of social media, the effect of the child sexuality education and all that, and how the process, how where America is at this point in time. And as much as yes, I'm in agreement that yes, children should be educated early enough about their sexuality and all that. I think that there also needs to be a balance, because now children are being educated to the point that any little thing, A 7 year old, 5 year old is taking decisions now in America to say, look, I don't think I'm comfortable in my girl body. I want to become a boy. And automatically schools and counselors are they're assigned to the child to kind of see the child through that. And at the end of the day, you find out that, sorry, there's been a blackout, but at the end of the day you find out that what's going on is that parents are no longer being informed as to what is going on, because they're saying, oh, the child has the right to decide what and what they want to do. So as regards our education of children, educating them about their sexual health and everything, how do we strike that right balance? Because there's an extreme here, and we have been on the other extreme as to, oh, we don't want to tell them, so that when we tell them, they won't go and get exposed and start learning and doing bad things. But then again, there's the other extreme where the child is educated and told about these things, but they
Mm.
are now giving them that autonomous, power to be able to say, I want to change my sex. And the parents don't have the right to say anything. And these are minors, so where does that balance come in? Because if we're advocating for that, especially in our climate here in Africa, how do we not go to the other extreme? I think that's really important. That is something that,
Okay,
you know,
okay. So we are not. I get your point, but we are not on. We're not in the same space with the Americans when it comes to CSC, comprehensive sexuality education. And I'll say this because I know what the curriculum looks like for Africa. We are not really upholding so many values that they uphold in that part of the world. And that's the good thing. I remember when I had to train on feminism, we have different strands of feminism. We have the ones, the different strands. We have African feminism, Black feminism, the ones that the Americans, the capitalism, classism, different. It's just like different groups and races have their own context. So even here, we have our own context when it comes to feminism. We have our own context when it comes to our sexuality and the values that we uphold. And this thing is not just something that's okay. When it comes to CSC, it's not westernized, and that's the good part. People are fighting CSC. CSC is comprehensive sexuality education generally in the West because of the content, what they are teaching them, what they are telling them is their rights. And so people are like, we are against CSC, we are against this because people are changing their agendas, people are doing this, people are doing that. But in Africa, we have different countries, we have different titles for what they call CSC. And stakeholders came together, our religious leaders came together, our traditional leaders came together, parents came together, school authorities, governments, they came together and they decided that this is what we want to teach the children. And it has nothing to do with the extreme sexuality that is being portrayed out there.
propagated. Yeah.
And this is because of the values that we hold. I am telling you from experience, I've had meetings with these stakeholders and they tell you they don't even want the children to learn some things. They are saying let it be age based, let them not learn about this one, let them learn about this one, let them not even call it sexual, let them call it reproductive. People are just being very careful because of the values and they don't want to go against our own values and our own culture. And that's why every country has their own context as to what the curriculum should be. So in Nigeria, in West Africa, we are talking about family life and HIV education. We're talking about comprehensive sexuality education. We're talking about, I can give you different topics, what it looks like. Bodily autonomy is there. They're talking about menstrual health. They're talking about HIV. They're talking about abstinence. They're talking about healthy practices that you can have as an adolescent, as a young person, just to have an idea of what it looks like. But for me, I would always say, even if we're talking about age base, we don't want our children, we want to balance things. I think that's where parents and families come in. Based on the values you want to instill on your children, you teach them so that you are not scared that they are going to be exposed to the outside world, that the education, what the education system is going to instill on them. You instill your own first as a parent. As a child is growing, what values do you want the child to have when it comes to their sexual health? Because whether we like it or not, if we are afraid that if these children learn about their sexuality, it will still come to them, even if you don't teach them, it will still catch up with them somehow. Somebody will want to take advantage of them. If they don't know, they won't be able to do anything. When they start seeing their period, if they don't know what they need to do, it will still catch up with them, because somehow we are human beings, we have these systems in our bodies. At some point, the knowledge has to just come in. It
Wow.
just has, the right knowledge has to come in.
Right knowledge, right. So totally agree with you. You know that it's really so important that our children are educated early enough, and not only are they educated early enough, they are also being taught the right things according to our own values. As family and even as a nation and all that. So we're going to be wrapping up like in the next 2 minutes, but I just want to ask one last thing, and which is, you mentioned how, a lot of people have gone through what you've gone through, and some were not able to manage it and literally went the opposite way. What was it that kind of, what was that mindset? What was it that made you say, look, I'm not going this way, this is how I'm going to go, I want to make a difference? What was it, that driving thing? And we'll wrap up with that.
Okay. To be honest, I don't know if I can pinpoint something, but I'll just say I understood myself. Not that I understood what I wanted to do at that point, but I understood the kind of person I was. I wasn't, maybe my temperament also helped, because I wasn't out there. I wasn't like into my, I feel like my temperament helped me, because even in secondary school I was very focused. I wanted the best for myself. I just had that inner drive to be the best. And understanding what I like to do helped me, because even in the midst of some dwindling thoughts coming here and there, I'll still be like, like I just know that my future is bright. So
Yes,
I
so
just believe, like somehow I can't be any less. I can't just allow this thing to. Mm-mm.
to put you down,
I
yeah.
just had that inner drive to be something, like to be something, but I did not know what it was going to be. So it helped me. Navigating was difficult, but in my, when I was in school education, I was doing great stuff. I could not just allow that to deter or whatever. If something negative was going to happen to me, to be that maybe I wasn't going to pursue love, I wasn't going to find love or marriage. But there are some other people that they might now become very promiscuous. They can go to the other extreme. But I was going to like, um, if I was going to allow myself, I just be like, this marriage thing is not for me. Like, no, let me just be on my own. But I was open minded. I was open minded. I was like, let's
Wow.
see how it goes. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so so much, Chidinma. You have been, it's sincerely, I appreciate how open and you have been to share your story, because like I said, a lot of people would not want to speak up on this matter. That's issue of maybe our culture, the stigmatization that we put around it. But the reality is that when we speak up and we speak out, we realize that there's really no stigma, there's really no shame. You shame your shame,
Yeah.
and and when you give that voice, it's true. That's what my mentor to say, shame your shame. So at the end of the day, there's not what do you want to shame me again? What do you want to say? Because now you are empowering, and you're empowering so many, and so thank you so much for that, for what you are doing. And I pray that God will continue
Okay.
to uphold you and strengthen you.
Amen.
Your voice will continue to be heard. Your voice will continue to
Amen.
make an impact. And I really
Amen.
believe that for as many of us that have been on this evening, and for as many that will also get to, watch the replay, I would say to us that, let's take action. Chidinma has said this is the whole idea. Parents, be there for your children. The law of first mention, be the one to start teaching them ahead of time. Start speaking about it. If you have, young ones that haven't yet hit puberty, talk about it. There's no hiding. Say it as it is. I remember when I had that conversation with my daughter, she was asking questions. I had to tell her as it is. I told her and I said, look, so that there's no issue of when your friends are gisting you something, they are not telling you the wrong thing. You've heard it
Mhm.
before. And so therefore she's able to come to tell me, mommy, what about this? What about, and we're able to talk about it. Parents, there's no shaming. This is like Chidinma said, we are all sexual beings. That is how we were created. If there was no sexuality, then the world would not continue. So that's how we are created, and that's the reality. So Chidinma, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so
Thank
much for your
you.
time. You have really, I can't just get over how you have been able to share your story, and how your story, you chose to take that trauma and turn it into an empowering message. It's really our choice, people. Whatever it is that you have been holding back, whatever it is that has been holding you back, whatever you have quote and unquote tagged as, oh, could be a shaming opportunity, guess what? Turn it around and turn it into an opportunity to shame that shame. And at the end of the day, when you have done that, it's only empowerment that is left. You're only there. Your message can only become empowering. So thank you so much, Chidinma, for what you're doing. And thank you for
Thank you.
representing us at UNESCO, or at least representing our
Mhm.
youth. Maybe I've passed that generation now. But thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
that and all that. God bless you so much. And
Mhm.
we really thank you for that time. We're going to have to round off now. It's been a wonderful time this evening. Thank you for everyone that has stayed on even till now. I appreciate you all. In fact, this topic is a serious topic. I'm going to see how we can even continue. Let's continue this conversation even on our other platforms and all that. Because the reality is that we can't keep quiet about this. The generation in which we are living now is highly sexualized. So many things are going on. Maybe because of values have been eroded. We find out that children and young people are being molested, are being traumatized, are being exposed to so many things, and they can't speak up because we have, stigmatized everything. But when we remove the stigma, we remove the shame, they'll be able to speak up, they'll be able to voice out. And I believe that we'll be able to make a difference in our generation. So, once again, to everyone, thank you for being here this evening. Thank you for another episode of the Showcase. Showcase will not be the Showcase without you. And thank you once again to Chidinma for sharing her story. And so we will continue our discussions even on our platforms, Facebook, and even on Instagram, and as well, even on YouTube. So, to everybody, I would say to you, thank you so much for the time spent. A big God bless you. And like I will always say, keep living life purposeful by design. So, till we see you again next month, take care and stay blessed. Bye.